Welcome to Weekly Geek Speak. I'm Andrew.
I'm Scott.
And I'm Steve.
And we are a weekly geek podcast where we talk about television, film, comics, and all kinds of stuff. We encourage interactivity. Would you like to interact? Well, follow us at Weekly Geek Speak. Reply to us as we say these weird questions that we'll probably come up with through the show. And Facebook, we're trying to cultivate Facebook. We're nearly at 250 likes, which doesn't seem that big, but it is to us.
Any interaction, like, comment, review, helps us infinitely.
And we'd love to hear from you. But first of all, let's give them something to talk about. You can find us on... My tongue got trapped in my mouth.
Okay.
Yeah, we're on iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker, Podcast Lines, and YouTube. We have a YouTube series on there as well with Dan and Scott. But it's time for us to get to Open Forum, which is... Sorry, I'm doing a terrible job introing this week. For some reason.
Fine. We can't be gold every week.
No.
I mean, sometimes we've got to be silver.
Perfection has to take a break.
Yeah. I mean, we're weekly.
We're geekly.
Yeah. We're not like... It's not like... consistently geek speak, is it? We just promise regularity.
Yeah. We make no bold claims. If you want us in your ears every week, we're there.
We're gonna be B+ sometimes.
Yeah, we are.
We're gonna.
But what we will have this week, have a Clash of the Titans, and we will also be talking about other things. And the other things will start off with our Open Forum.
Yeah.
So Open Forum is where we talk about things we normally wouldn't come up with, kind of just a chance for us to chew the fat. So I'm going to start chewing some fat, and the first thing I want to talk about is... Ryan Reynolds has a new film out. It's probably out now when this podcast is out. It's called Voices, in which he plays a person with schizophrenia. His cat and his dog talk to him, and they convince him to kill people, I believe, and then he does, and there's a head in a fridge, which is Gemma Arterton, and I believe Anna Kendrick's in there in the mix as well.
I love her. I love them both, actually. I love all three of them.
Yeah.
It's a really
Give me
nice
any
lineup.
of them.
It's a good cast, yeah.
I mean, I don't usually go that way, but even Ryan Reynolds does as well.
When I saw this, I thought, Deadpool.
Yeah.
Deadpool is a character who has voices in his head. He talks to himself. It's an intriguing kind of foreshadow to what we're going to see.
Yeah, but it's a bit more cartoonish, wacky, and breaking the fourth wall, rather. I imagine this goes for more dark comedy.
You'd be surprised.
Really?
He talks to his cat, who's called Mr. Whiskers, which is voiced by Ryan Reynolds, in his kind of a Scottish accent that's funny. The dog is the good side, isn't he? The dog kind of goes, "What are you doing? Why are you doing this?" They're both...
We can talk about this.
And so it's got this... It kind of reminded me of a tongue-in-cheek kind of Maniac, the Elijah Wood one, because Elijah Wood talks to himself. He has sort of problems, but it's a lot darker. But really, it's like I wanted to talk about how you're expecting Deadpool, if you'd seen the trailer, if you think that's the way it's going to go, and can a film with Anna Kendrick, Ryan Reynolds, and Gemma Arterton truly be that dark? In this kind of way, will they go? Because I'm intrigued. Because I want it. Ideally, the funny side in the trailer is funny, but I'd like the violence seems to be quite horrible. I love the idea of the dark comedy that really makes you laugh at one point, but then actually makes you go, "Oh, I'm a bit uncomfortable here."
Yeah,
that's for me is how a dark horror should be. I didn't know if I picked that up in the advert, but I hope it is held in the film.
Well, that's how they choose to sell it, isn't it? I mean, adverts can be trailers can be very misleading if they're unsure how to sell it, if it's like a multi-genre or takes turns and stuff, because you don't want to give away stuff, but you have to sell it to an audience. So it could be just that it's easier to sell it for its comedy than it's dark a bit. So we don't know until we've watched it, obviously. We're just speculating.
And you've got to look at Unlikely Hero with Ryan Reynolds. You see that DVD cover, we've talked about it before, many episodes ago. That looks like a wacky Ryan Reynolds superhero comedy. Whoa, no.
But if you actually watched the original trailer for what was it originally called?
For what?
Paperman.
Oh, Paperman. Yeah.
If you actually watch the original trailer, it sold it as it should be. It was an indie indie drama. But this one is comedy, but does show that it's obviously, it doesn't hide away from the fact it's about murder. You know, I'm just very intrigued. It could go the wrong way quite easily. But yeah, Deadpool, is that what you want? Do you want that funny side to come across, or do you think they'll shy away from that multiple personality side?
The script's online somewhere. I've not read it on purpose. So I don't know how much they play up the sort of multiple voices thing, but from what I've heard and what I imagine, he's gonna break the fourth wall a lot and be wacky, but you can't have it be too much. So I imagine there might be a bit of sort of there'll be a few narration jokes. That'll be a way to do it, wouldn't it? Or just maybe odd moments. I don't think it'd be a big part of it.
No.
It'll just be an aspect, if you know what I mean, to show like, yeah, that's happening, but whilst not necessarily telling you every 2 minutes, because it's not the same as when you're reading it and he's talking to himself a lot of the time, because you have to. It's part of the narration of comics, and what makes it interesting is the separate voices, and you can't really do that in a film organically as easily and often. So I think it'll be touched on, but not as much as this film, obviously, where that's the whole shtick.
And I think they'll do it right, because from everything I've read, that Ryan Reynolds seems to be nothing but positive. He's saying when the trailer was out there, you guys have spoken, we don't want to ruin this for the fans. We know people hold Deadpool dearly, and he's somebody we want to get right, and we don't want to ruin this. So hopefully people are speaking and they're listening, and they're going to fine tune it and get it right. So I have every hope for it to be.
I can only go off things I've heard about the script, where everyone said it read really well, and the test footage, which was perfect.
Yeah.
Or as close to perfect as you're going to get. So I'm just sitting back and just happy it's happening, because it looked in doubt for so very long, and I'm excited. I'm trying not to. There's that much coming. I'm trying not to overthink it, because it might overload my systems.
Yeah.
I mean, there's sort of a contented calm about a lot of what's coming, which I've never had really.
Yeah, because it's been sparse and few in between.
Yeah,
if something failed, it could have ramifications for the genre.
Exactly. Whereas at the minute, I feel like, well, if that fails, it's kind of cool. I got it, and there's also that, and that. So the only thing I'm nervous about is Batman v Superman, because I really want that universe to work. But apart from that, I'm zen.
Bring it
all.
And in terms of the Ryan Gosling and that cast working, I want it to. I want it to be dark, and I want
Ryan Reynolds.
Ryan Gosling, man, about
Did
Ryan
you
Reynolds.
Oh, I didn't pick up on him.
No, but yeah, in terms of that cast and that film, I've seen the trailer, and I hope it is really dark, and they're selling it as a comedy. But I hope that works. Yeah.
Steve, what's your open forum?
I was reading an article that I've actually just dug out again the other day about a Russian cult who worships the female cartoon character Gadget from Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers. And they've set up I'll show you the picture, it's not very good because on air, but there's a lot of guys just stood around this huge cardboard cutout of her.
Can I just stop you there? That is ridiculous. You would easily worship Monterey Jack.
Well, there we go. This was my... Who was you're setting up a cult. So these guys have sat around and they've set it up. They pray to posters of her. They gather, talk about how incredibly great she is. They compose songs about her and spread stickers of Miss Hackwrench wherever they go. It's pretty unbelievable, but hey, if Maradona has his own cult, then why can't Gadget Hackwrench? Why I love her is a stupid question. Could I not love the goddess? She is strict, cute, optimistic, and her love of technical knowledge is unachievable for a mortal being.
She's incredibly cute for a rat.
So,
that's what I'll say.
Who would you, if you were going to set up a cult based on a character, a cartoon character, or sit around and worship and sing songs about and pray to a picture of them, who would it be? That was my... There we go.
I'm a fan of science.
Okay.
And I'm intrigued by the singularity. So Inspector Gadget.
Nice, the cult of Inspector Gadget.
Not Gadget Kid.
No, or the Gadgetinis.
No,
none
no,
of that.
no,
None of them.
No, Inspector Gadget.
Mm.
I'm imagining walking into a church and someone's playing the church and they're like, boo 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 boo. Boo 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 boo.
That would, yes. And then everyone just starts singing, go, Gadget, go. Yes.
And instead of amen, they always just like, we'll get you next time, Gadget. And then everyone departs from the altars.
Oh,
Come
the
back
Dr.
next week.
Dr. Claw laugh.
That'd be amazing.
Yes. I like the idea of that. Andrew?
I don't know. It's a weird question.
I know.
It's a good question. I don't know because there's you could apply logic to it, but that rarely is the case with cults.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Gadget from Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers.
Gadget's the small one.
Well, does it have to be
Gadget
with someone with a
Hack
gadget in the name?
No, it can be anyone.
I'm
or
genuinely
anything.
surprised it's Gadget though, because like Dale's like a free spirit.
Yeah.
Chip's cool. He's got
Yeah.
a leather jacket. And Monterey
Monterey
Jack.
Jack
I
was-
mean, it's Monterey bloody Jack.
He was brilliant.
What was the fly called?
I can't remember. I've not seen it for years.
I used to love
Maybe-
Chip and Dale
Rescue Rangers. So
They're in
we are
danger.
just going to sing lots of 80s theme tunes. I love it.
For
Cult.
just a kind of promotion of goodness, of peace, of love, of family, of helping each other. I would like a cult of Totoro.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Purely from a lovely, that's what we should live our life. We should live our life like a giant furry tree.
You know
spirit.
what? I bet there is one.
There has to be. There
I
should
must
bet
be.
there is.
Live your life by the rules of Totoro.
Now I'm aware there's a Gadget one. There's one for everyone.
I want to know: is it the Rule 34? If you could think of it, there's a cult for it. Does it branch into that category?
I don't think that's Rule 34.
No, I know. But is there something similar that branches now? Something you
There's a
can
different
think of
letter in
that's
the
a cult
cult
for it.
code.
Yeah, Rule 39.
Stop making rules.
I don't know. There's a list of rules out there somewhere.
Hey,
What are the other 33?
she's like the most perfect one. Like I'm trying to think of like just obscure enough to be funny,
Yeah.
whilst being popular enough that they could be a cult. But weirdly, they've cornered the
I
market
know they have.
with Gadget.
I've been trying to think
folk.
since I read it, going, who would I have? And yeah.
I keep thinking like Launchpad from like
Launchpad
DuckTales.
McQuack. Yeah.
Scrooge. It's a
Oh,
capitalist
Gurr
machine.
from Invader Zim.
Yeah. Oh,
He's- I
Robo-Duck
love
from
Right, you see,
Darkwing
they're all
Duck.
coming out
There
now.
we go.
They have to be cartoons, do they?
I'm
No.
What
thinking-
about Bert from Trapdoor?
The Cult of
Look
Bert.
out
Hello.
that tractor.
But you know what? I think you
Something down
should
there.
send this podcast link to the cult of Gadget
Yeah.
and say, "Well done,
Good work.
good work,
We salute
thank you."
And hopefully they'll send us a song.
Yeah, because we respect that genuinely.
Yeah,
I think
no,
that's
it's
awesome.
amazing. And I think just the fact that they're so into it.
I mean,
it's just
anyone who
brilliant.
organises anything in a positive way that harms nothing is a weirdly beautiful thing.
Definitely.
And if Gadget's got you there, fair play to you. Have some holeless cartoon cheese from me,
Definitely.
and just enjoy yourselves.
Mm.
That's awesome.
Nice.
Last Hope and Forum we did, I had two things,
Mhm.
and I were like, oh, I'll go for that one.
Hmm.
What was that other thing?
I don't know.
Don't know. Well,
Read my mind, guys.
Mm.
I can't see anything in that year.
It's because there's nothing.
Oh.
I'm really struggling to remember what it was. It was like a perfect one. I was so proud of it.
Oh no.
Well,
It's a moment.
while you muse, I mean,
Something's gonna hold you down. Is that what you meant?
yeah.
No one's
Ten-
gonna take me alive.
Gratuitous solo!
We're just
We've
gonna
just
sing
turned into Wayne's World, apparently.
weekly geek sing. A new section.
I've never quite got Muse. Is it just me?
I'm going to do a mini in defence of here because
Okay.
when we went to see the Pod Pals, the JT Movie Podcast boys, one of them, Matthew, wasn't it?
was, yeah.
Wasn't a fan of
Man of Steel.
Man of Steel. There were other non-fans of Man of Steel, and I always find myself backed into a corner in these situations because I find it fine.
Yeah.
but then everyone looks at me expecting to battle its corner, and this seemed to come out in a year for me when everyone had opinions on things which were on spectrum, completely on opposite ends of the spectrum. I don't get this one. I don't get why this Superman film causes so much upset. I know that the Donner ones are held up there, and the debate they were having, which is best, Superman 4 or Man of Steel, basically trying to say how bad Man of Steel is. I don't get it though, but the one thing I kind of came to in a drunken debate with Steve on a train was, actually, if you actually watch that film and think about that film, everything that happens in that film is probably very important to Batman versus Superman. The choices that Superman has made to let people die in buildings, if that was your issue, to kill Zod at the end, this is why Batman wants to stand up to him, and say, no, this is not how we do it. You've gone the easy way there. And
it's a bit of a misnomer in that there's a reason they don't call him Superman till the end of the film. It's not Superman until the end of the film. It's Superman Begins by way of a sort of epic sci-fi sort of invasion film. And it's establishing a new world that is doing Superman in a realistic canvas, and it's trying its best to make this overpowered being as relatable as possible. He can't be everywhere at once. He can't save everyone at once. What he's dealing with is probably greater than him, and he's doing well to just survive. That's why this destruction, and that's why he's not like da 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 da. The cat's out of the tree. There you go, little girl. And I honestly, with my harshest, I know I'm a big superhero mark, and I know I love Superman, and I know I'm a DC guy, and everything about it's catered to me. But I try. If anything, you will not believe it. Listen to me on this podcast. I am overcritical of superhero films more than anything, not undercritical, and I don't get this. I don't get the furore, because every sort of argument I've heard about it is a bit like easily explainable, or just slightly goes against their taste, but shouldn't be that big a deal.
But yeah, it seems to be fervent hate, and every time I push people on it, it's terrible. I just can't quite get why it's so hated.
The only bit I kind of go, yeah, okay, is when they criticise how his dad dies in the tornado, because I don't think they convey that scene very well, so I can see why that loses.
But but as I was saying to Steve, because that was one of your criticisms,
that was one of
but it's kind of Kevin Costner is saying to him, no, nothing, do not let anyone ruin your life, because as soon as you let people know this, it will destroy you. And Superman, at that point, Clark Kent is like, I don't know what to do, and he lets his dad die, and that's hard for him. It's terrible, you know, and it makes the choice to actually reveal himself down the line even harder.
Yeah,
but it isn't. As I agree, it probably isn't articulated well enough in that scene.
Yep.
But it really is that moment is that moment of heartbreak for him. But I know Kevin Costner gets a bum deal in the whole thing, that whole background. But the problem is we have seen that 10 million times. The background of Superman. Do we need it again? Maybe they should have.
Just a new way of doing it. It's a story about his two dads. I think I honestly think it's got more going on, and it's more dense and more interesting than half the Marvel films. It's just a bit overly earnest, which I think loses people. And then it makes some decisions which, on the surface you can go, that's not Superman. But in the context of the film, it works and it makes sense. And especially if you're returning to the world and dealing with the fallout, it's perfect.
Which now we know we're getting.
And also, it might reveal, like, the dawn of justice, that these superheroes have been existing quietly in the background, sorting things, and all of a sudden this guy's come along and gone, I'm breaking buildings, woo, you know, and they're like, wait a minute,
hang on,
what's going on? And that is important, and I think this film will become so much more important after Batman vs Superman's come out. But people will probably hate that as well.
I do think it'll retrospectively play a lot better after Batman vs Superman. But it's largely unfair. But I honestly, on my harshest day watching that film, I can't go below a 6 or 7. Like my harshest, trying to nitpick at it and be a troll. I think some of it's some anti-Zack Snyder sentiment. I think some of it's some of the directions it takes.
I think that's it. I mean, I don't love it, and this is why I always feel weird being the one who has to defend it. Because I think it's okay. It's no more special than anything else. It's a 7 out of 10 for me. It didn't really upset me, but it didn't really blow my socks off. I think it's if your argument is that it rushes through certain sections really quickly, Captain America did the same.
Captain America
Just the other way round.
But what sections does it rush through quickly?
I suppose there's the whole now I'm on a rig or something, isn't he? And then he's somewhere else, and then he's somewhere else. But we don't really want to spend all that time.
Well, that's his sort of wandering lost years. If you're using the Christ metaphor, which Superman stories always do, it's the wandering lonely. You get the point. He's searching for himself. And
you see, hearing all this makes
how much of that do you want?
Watch it again, because I just watched it in terms of I'm not
it's
a
like
big Superman fan. It was all right. It was watchable.
Well, I'm not a big Superman
had issues,
fan,
but I now hearing all this makes me want to go back and look at it with fresh eyes. Especially now we know we're getting and where it's leading and why they've made these certain choices.
On that point, it reminds me of Dark Knight Rises, and one of the biggest criticisms I kept hearing was, "Has Batman just turned up back in City?" I was like, because he's Batman and you've already seen other people sneak into the city. Are you seriously saying in a nearly 3-hour film you want to see him get on a plane, go over to Gotham, sneak in, and then appear?
Wow.
Do you not think we could, at this point in the third film, we can just go, yeah, get in, he's Batman.
Yeah.
The guy
get
has,
to
the
what
guy
we need
has
to
a
see.
bloody jet.
That's what
Are you still sure he doesn't have something over the shore? He doesn't keep everything on Gotham Island.
We saw a handful of useless CIA guys sneak into the city. You telling me Batman couldn't? I mean, he got there. Let's get to the important things. It's just a jump cut where you can infer what happened. Doesn't matter. It was literally the biggest criticism I heard about that film.
Wow.
And it's just weird, arbitrary shit sometimes that really annoys me about. And someone kept telling me it was a plot hole. No, it's not a plot hole. If you can infer into it, it's not a plot hole. If it literally makes no sense within the logics of the film, it's a plot hole.
Then it's a plot hole.
So what I want to ask actually now is that's kind of arguing the case for it. There's no right or wrong here. You genuinely find it a pile of crap. But what I want you to do is let us know. Please, we'd love to know. We'd love to talk this point more. We've heard that you hate it, and I don't want to have one saying, I hate Superman, I hate Man of Steel. That we know. We want to know why. Those bits that know why, because I'm very intrigued to know why it receives it. We're not going to jump down your throat. We actually really want to know this, because I think it frazzles my brain a little bit to what I've missed in here that's so offensive.
You don't have to like it.
Do get in touch at weeklygeekspeak@gmail.com. We want to hear from you.
And that was just because you found it an interesting debate.
It's very interesting. I think it's really interesting.
You're not begrudging a better podcast than us having an opinion.
Not at all. I think that it's fascinating. I hope that they have debated as well on their show, because I'm sure they will. But I just want to know kind of the deeper reasons why on that. Because the greatest conversation inspires thought. It's thought-provoking, and it's made me think ever since. And I really want to watch it again, because I've only seen it once.
Yeah, I've only seen it once.
Sorry, that was probably me getting more criticism.
But yeah, thank you for the debate. That's at HOM Podcast and at JT Movie Podcast for the two main players there in the conversation. And it's just made me think. It's great. It's good.
That's why it's probably quite nice meeting up with podcasts, because you see where you differ, and it probably creates a lot of interesting debate. It's a shame I'm not allowed to meet them.
No.
But now I understand why.
Today we are joined by Paul Warren, who is a creature actor, and we were very, very kindly actually put in touch with Paul by one of our listeners at Arbitrary Genius Bex, who said that she really wanted us to talk to you. So it's a huge welcome to you, Paul. Welcome to Weekly Geek Speak.
Hello, thank you. Thanks for having me.
So you're a creature actor, you could say. Is that the term we would use?
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, that's not a technical job term. Basically, I'm employed as an actor, but we've been fondly sort of been named creature performers and man in a suit by fans of the genre, really. But at heart, I'm employed as an actor. That's my job.
So how did you kind of falling, as you obviously started out to be an actor, I assume. So how did you? Where did this start? That you did these amazing roles in various films as these weird and wonderful creatures.
It's kind of weird. I actually started as a musician. I was a professional musician for 10 years, playing in a band. But when I was 10 years old, believe it or not, I was in Midsummer Night's Dream, playing Puck. I think I was only about 10. I mean, it's a very sort of, a watered down school production of it. But it was at that point that I was playing Puck and I saw E.T. and I just got obsessed with this idea of, creatures and impish characters. And I think that basically stuck with me, as I grew older. Then I got into music and, got into the band and started touring. And it was only after the band finished that I thought I might pursue it. I actually tried to straight acting roles, very dramatic stuff. Went for some auditions and I did some walk-ons on TV and, The Bill and Holby and that kind of stuff. But then I got offered an audition for The Deaths of Ian Stone, where they wanted a skinny character to play the body of the lead actor, Mike Vogel. So they basically put me in prosthetics and I didn't have to do much really apart from just lie there on a torture table, But it was my first taste of working with prosthetics and the prosthetic artists, and I thought, this is quite good. I quite like this. And it was from there that I got recommended for another job, and then, just snowballed from there. And it was recommendations all the way down the line, really. And even to this day, I have productions that will call me up and say, you've been recommended by such and such. Can you come in and have a chat? And, that kind of stuff, really. So I've been very lucky. I just fell into it.
It's amazing, and must be a real interesting kind of area of work. I mean, but what's really exciting is now what films might we recognise you from, or not recognise you, as the case may be, with all your makeup on?
Oh, I'm not too sure. I've done so many now. Let's have a look. Well, the most thing I do comic conventions now. That's I've just started doing that and the signings, and the thing that people are more interested in is the work I did for Harry Potter, because that was my first kind of big stuff in film was a body double for Daniel Radcliffe doing the broomstick flying, on Order of Phoenix.
Yes, yeah.
That was what really sort of what people are mainly interested in. There was Captain America. I've done a lot of stuff for Marvel, Guardians of the Galaxy, Thor: The Dark World, but just minor little creature characters that appear briefly here and there. Nothing too substantial. Not sure really.
There's some great films in there. I mean, was it Thor: The Dark World and Guardians of the Galaxy? And it must be great to go onto these sets and see these fantastic worlds. It's amazing. Yeah, I'm sure. But when you get into the makeup and things, how do you take that on? Do you try and become part of it, or do you just enjoy the atmosphere while you're there?
It's very difficult to enjoy or see anything or hear anything, once you're in these things. The prosthetics aren't too bad, but I've done some creature suits where you don't see or hear anything, so you're basically stuck inside it. And then if you're part of a team where there's lots of creatures and lots of aliens and they're all wearing these heads, as soon as they say cut, everyone takes their head off. So as you take your head off, everyone's got the head off, so you don't get to see, the actual goings on and the creatures and all this kind of stuff that's going on. And then they put you back in it, and you're back in the fishbowl again, and so you get on with what you got to do and just go for it, really, and hope you hit your marks and hope everyone's happy. But yeah, you don't get to sort of step back a little bit and go, oh, this looks great, this is amazing, because you're too busy sort of trying to breathe and see.
So makeup is notoriously grueling. You hear actors and actresses go on and on and on about how sitting in the chair was horrible and things. This is something you've got to do a lot. And how do you find it? And how do you deal with sitting in that chair for so long? Well,
like yourselves, I'm a geek, so for me it's really easy because majority of the makeup artists that I work with, have worked on the most incredible sort of genre films over the years that we're all fans of. And I especially like my first sort of prosthetic stuff was with the Stan Winston guys. So sort of chatting to them about Aliens and Predator and all the big movies that they've done, that Jurassic Park that I can just sit there for hours listening to it. So sometimes when the AD will come in and say, "Come on, we need him on set," I'm like, "Oh man, I just want to sit here and listen to this a little bit more," rather than go to work, because they've got some amazing stories. So for me, it's great. I can spend hours just sitting there and enjoying it and chilling out and just chatting with the guys.
Yeah, and is it quite therapeutic when you come to the end of the day and you can rip it all off?
I hate that bit. Can't stand it. Can't stand it, because it's another hour, maybe 2 hours if it's a big one to get off, and everybody's gone home and you just want to go home, and it's that's probably the worst part. The sitting in there at the start of the day is therapeutic and sort of a good way to sort of wake up, and it's fine. But at the end of the day, you just want it off. But obviously you can't tear it off.
No, it's a
long process.
Expensive stuff, isn't it, as well?
But yeah, I mean, a lot of people do sort of moan about it, and they don't enjoy the process, but overall, I don't know. I'm kind of cool with it.
Yeah,
it is what it is.
Yeah. Well, what's your favourite costume you've worn, and is there anyone you've particularly really enjoyed, or?
I mean, once they're on, they all with the prosthetics, they all pretty much feel the same anyway. And they all operate in the same way. If it's a body suit with prosthetics or whatever, they feel pretty much the same.
Yeah.
But I don't enjoy that too much, because you have to have contact lenses as well, which kind of bug me a little bit and irritate. But they're all pretty good. I suppose it depends on the character I'm playing. The one in Guardians, only pop up a couple of times in a couple of scenes. Nothing too major, but that was good fun, because he's a real horrible little creature in the prison with sharp teeth and these amazing contacts, and just a horrible looking guy, and just playing him was just good fun, running around the prison set and just being a real dick. It's great.
You've also, you mentioned earlier that the death of Ian Stone. They were looking for a thin actor and all. And is it right that you played the thinner characters in Captain America? You played the thin Steve Rogers. Is that right?
Yeah, there was two of us. Basically, I was brought in at the start of pre-production by the production team to work out how they were going to do the effect. So basically, it was Joe Johnson went through sort of a lineup of us that have been cast from my size to Captain America size to pick out a double for each version of Steve, and they basically used me as the template and the CGI pre-production tests to create the body and how they were going to do the effect and the head replacement and whether they're going to shrink, whether they're not going to shrink. In the end, they ended up using loads of different things. And then on set, there was two of us. There was a guy that had a prosthetic nose and dots on his face to whenever Steve was stationary. And then I was the Steve stand-in that would be used for when they were doing the CGI effect. So in the end, though, what it boiled down to, there was I'd say it's about 80-90% of it is Chris Evans in the film that's just shrunk down. And then they used us very briefly for a couple of other shots. But mainly it's Chris doing all the work, really.
It's fascinating stuff, really, isn't it? And
yeah,
I was
great.
Particularly impressed with that when I saw it at the
it's a great effect. People still don't know, because I think they used, there's about 4 or 5 different techniques they use, like shrinking, head replacement, body doubling, all kinds of different ways that people don't seem to know how it was done or realise. I think a lot of people think that he was just skinnier and put on weight for the Captain America bits, but no, it's great. It's a great effect.
It is great as well. And who did you play in Thor: The Dark World? Can you tell us a little bit about that production? Yeah,
that was a creature marauder at the start of the movie. Have you seen the film at all?
Oh yes, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, at the start when Thor, I think it's his grand entrance, and he sort of lands and he starts beating the crap out of all the marauders that are coming at him, and it was that scene. So basically we were like fodder for Thor and his Oh,
His
what's
Band
he
of Merry
called?
Men, yes, like
Yeah.
Sith and so forth. Isn't it?
Yes. And the other guy was there. He had some scenes cut out, actually. But it was appearing it late. It was the guy with the beard. What's his name? We had a couple of scenes with him that were cut out, which were pretty cool. But yeah, we were basically fodder for and his Merry Men, which was good fun.
It was
and later on when they go into the prisons, when Loki gets is broken out. We're the guys that have been taken in and put in the prison cells and then we riot at the end or break out, wherever it was.
That's a particularly the first one you mentioned, a particularly fun scene in the movie, isn't it? So it must be great. Is it great fun on set as well? Does that come across?
That was pretty good actually, because it was pretty big, big scale production with creatures and background and stunts and the main cast and horses and explosions and we were running through full explosions that were going off, which was just bags of manure that they were blowing up. And so there's a lot of people having to go and see the eye doctor a lot to get manure out their eyes,
nice.
eye drops and stuff. So. But that was about a week, and that was pretty epic actually.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that was big scale stuff.
And when you're there, do you completely like lose yourself in it and things, especially in that kind of one? Because the makeup, as you said, it can detract from you. But is there any particular film you've worked on where you've completely just gone with it and lost yourself?
I try to do it in all of them, really. I mean, on those ones where it's an ensemble of lots of creatures, it's a little bit easier to sort of, you're all part of a group, so you're tending to, especially the core group of alien creatures, which I tend to be a part of. We tend to, it's more physical rather than, it's a lot of running around. It's run here, run there. It's very technical in a way. But when I'm employed, like maybe it's just one creature. There was a movie I did, The Last Days on Mars, where I was flown out to Jordan in the Middle East, in the desert, and it was just me and Lee Schreiber who were having a fight in the desert. When it's one-on-one like that, then you lose yourself in it. You tend to be a little bit more, invested in the character, because it's all resting on you. But when you're an ensemble of creatures, you tend to sort of band together and just, it's mayhem.
Yeah, good stuff. Well, as you've mentioned that you're a geek like ourselves, and knowing that you are technically part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, how does that make you feel? Is that really awesome?
I love it. Yeah. I love it. I mean, as a kid, I was the comics I read that I was obsessed with were the Fantastic Four, Spider-Man, and Batman. Those were the three that I just loved them. So now that they've been doing Batman movies for a long time now, but these movies are being made, for me it's great. And then to be a part of it and be part of Marvel after reading Marvel is just like, it's a dream, really, isn't it? It's great. I've got no complaints. I've had fun on all of them, and I think I've done 4 Marvel films. I did X-Men First Class as well. I don't know if I suppose we count that.
Yeah.
What was it? Captain America, Guardians of the Galaxy, Thor. I think that's it. But I'd like to do some more. I'd like to do some more. I mean, the bonus is they do a lot of stuff in England, which is perfect. So the Motley Crew tend to get asked to do all of them, really. It's the same sort of faces that turn up and put on the makeup.
That's brilliant. And I saw you've got a credit in World War Z. Is that correct? Yeah.
That one was that was a tough one. That's a weird one.
Yeah.
It was a bit of a. I mean, the production itself. I mean, it's no secret. It was a troubled.
Yeah.
It was a troubled shoot. Budgets and disagreements and studio malarkey and all kinds of stuff. And I mean, I was only on it for a little bit, and again, I was the brought in as the template for a certain type of zombie which didn't make it into the movie. It was a Russian zombie which was part of a Russian scene which was ultimately cut. I think people have talked about it before and seen maybe storyboards or some sort of something about the script. It was basically the third act which was removed from the film. That I don't know if it will ever see the light of day. So I didn't actually appear in it, but I did a lot of work, for it.
Yeah.
But that's the way it goes sometimes.
It's a weird. It is an odd film. It doesn't quite reach what it intends, and I know people, and I haven't read the book, but people who have read the book are absolutely pissed off with it, really.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing is, they did do a lot of zombie work. They did do a lot of prosthetics, and Mark Coulier, Cooler Creatures, did a lot of great zombie effects, but for some reason they went with the CGI version of that. So you do still see some prosthetics, and the third act does consist of a zombie with prosthetics, but a lot of it was jettisoned, and as it is with a lot of films these days, for CGI versions of things. And I don't understand it. I don't quite get it, because a lot of great work was done and it looked amazing, but I don't know. There's somebody somewhere seems to think that's what people want, but
yeah.
I don't know.
It's the world has changed a lot in terms of effects. I mean, back in the early 90s, late 80s, it was all practical, and then everyone got obsessed with CGI, and everything was CGI. We seem to have reached a nice balance at the moment where people have gone back to practical and are using CGI to complement each other. Do you feel this it comes across from when you talk to the filmmakers and things, and do you think it works better personally? Obviously, it gives you a job, but what's your views on that, basically?
Yeah. I think it's coming back in a big way. If it hasn't already. I mean, Guardians was one of the biggest jobs for practical makeup there's been in years, you know, and you've got Star Wars coming up, which is going to be just as big on a massive scale of makeup and practical effects, which is it's going to turn things around again. Because I think this is the thing, a lot of directors, they grew up with practical effects. They love practical effects. They want practical effects in their films, and they set out to make films with practical effects. Yeah. But then somewhere down the line, somebody somewhere says, "No, you're doing CG." Yeah. You know, a lot of the time, it isn't the choice of the directors; it's the choice of the studios. And I don't know. Maybe they think that a demographic of Xbox and PS. For game people, that's what they want to see. I don't know, but it's going to turn around, definitely. Yes,
it was weird, isn't it, that Jurassic Park came in and showcased almost the best of practical, but also brought in the dawn of CGI, and it's an odd one.
They used that was what was brilliant about that, was they both used them both and complemented each other, and they used them to great effect. But somebody somewhere forgot that's what they did, and just went, "Oh, CGI's great," and it's like, well, yeah, Jurassic Park's great because it's CGI and practical. If it was just CGI, it would look terrible today.
It would, and you can tell with the CGI bits in it that's the bits they're dated. Yeah, definitely. And you see how quick when you watch if you even go back to this proper version of Star Wars, for like a better term, and you watch those ones from late 70s to mid 80s.
Yeah,
they look better than the prequels, and that's not prequel bashing. It's the fact that it doesn't age well, does it?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. But a lot of the time, they are breaking new ground with the special effects, and it does work in a lot of films. I mean, what's it I watched the other day that still looks great? Like District 9. I watched that again the other day.
Brilliant film.
Yeah, and the effects in that, the CGI, is still great. Still photorealistic, still looks brilliant. And I think it's the way that it was done. You know? You look at other films from the same time, I don't know what year that was, like 2009 or something like that.
It was around that point, wasn't it? Yeah.
They haven't aged as well, because I think it's the way it's done. It's like any art. You know, if you get a good artist to do something great, then, they'll make something great.
Well, that's particularly District 9's a great example, because they're blending the CGI with the reality of the world behind it. And you can see how much it's advanced from then to Chappie now, which is Neil Blomkamp's latest, and you can definitely see there Chappie just works perfectly with the world almost. I mean, but it's hard to tell, because it always seems when you see a new graphics on a computer game or a new CGI, it's amazing to you, but because it develops so quickly, it ages quickly as well.
Yeah, it does. It does.
That's the crux of it, isn't it, really?
It is amazing when you think about it, because when you think about some of the stuff back then you thought were mind-blowing, you look back now and you go, how did I think that was so realistic? It looks awful. But you're right, I suppose we just evolved with it, don't we?
Whereas sometimes you look back and look at some of the late 80s horror movies and so forth, and you go, those effects are, that they're practical, but they're gross, and that's what makes them feel real.
And they're fun as well. That's what it's. They're fun because you know that somebody made it, and somebody put a lot of time into that, and now it's getting smashed up with a hammer, and there's something just fun about seeing something real like that.
Definitely. I wanted you actually to weigh in on a couple of subjects we've actually been talking about in the podcast earlier on. One of the big debates we've been having with another podcast is they fervently dislike Man of Steel, whereas I personally think it's okay, but I don't love it. But there seems to be this polarised opinion. I just want to see where you are with Man of Steel.
I love it. I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of it. I'm not a big Superman fan.
Same here, actually.
I love the I love the Donner movie, of course, but I've never been like a Superman comic reader. But I don't know. I just really liked it. I mean, one of the things that really struck me about it was not only the visual look of it, which I thought was great. I mean, it's got its flaws. You know, some of that Kevin Costner stuff's a little bit ropey, but I love the score on it. I think the score complements the film perfectly. And there's just certain moments in there where there's the score and the image, and it's just like I think it's beautiful. Some of that stuff, especially when he's just about to fly, you know, and it's all building up and the music's building, and then you just see this imagery of the cape, and it's just like that's great. That's cinema, you know.
Yeah.
That's great.
It's a very interesting debate because it really was. It seemed to be in a year when films seemed to polarise opinions. I remember like Thor: The Dark World as well. People were singing from the rooftops or were going that's the worst Marvel one.
Yeah, it's a strange one. I mean, I'm not. I mean, I've only seen it once. I need to watch it a few more times. But between the two of them, I did prefer the first one as a film. But I don't know. I'll give it another go. I'm sure it's very difficult once you've worked on something as well to then watch it with a you know, an open mind and to be I don't know. It's very difficult for me. Very difficult because you look at it and go, oh yeah, that was that day that we did such and such, and oh there's thing, and you know you've seen behind the curtain, so to speak. So you're thinking about other things about the experience. It's like maybe watching a holiday video, you know, that you've been on with your friends, and you're just like, oh yeah, I remember that. Oh yeah, he got really hurt when he did that.
Yeah.
That, you know, that kind of stuff. So it's hard to be objective, but I'll keep going.
Yeah. Also, I just wanted to ask as well, going straight after this interview, we have what we call a Clash of the Titans, and that's where we take two very similar actors or directors and we kind of have a penalty shootout with them, if you like, and we go through several rounds, and obviously the listeners won't have heard this yet because we're going straight into it after this interview, but where would you stand when we've got the comedy giant of the 90s, Jim Carrey, taking on the comedy giant of the noughties, Will Ferrell? Where would you weigh in on that pairing?
Oh, that's a tough one, isn't it?
Because
I've recently started sort of enjoying Will Ferrell's stuff. I mean, I don't think I really saw much of it before, and sort of didn't really pay him much attention, and just like, oh yeah, whatever. And I've started watching a lot more of his stuff recently, and I do like him. I think he's great. I think it might have to be Jim Carrey, you know.
It's going to make an interesting clash, that's for sure.
It's a bit unfair, really, because Jim Carrey's been around a lot longer and has done a lot more. His roles have been a lot more diverse, haven't they? That he's tackled. Yeah. So he's been able to build up a little bit more of a. He's got more power.
He's got a back catalogue. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
we're still quite new.
Well, thank you very much for joining us. Before you go, if you just want to let us know, you said you do some cons. Where are the next ones going? Is there anything you're particularly looking forward to? Good
point. I should plug something, shouldn't I? I mean, if people want to follow me, I'm on Twitter at Paul R. Warren. And I'm going to be at the High Wycombe Comic Con on June the 6th. And I'll be at the Romford Essex Sci-Fi Convention on July the 25th. I think that's about it.
Well, if you end up coming to the Midlands or to Yorkshire, we'll certainly be coming along to meet you, because it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, and so exciting what you do. Yeah, thank you for inviting me. It's been great, and I look forward to listening to it. It's brilliant, yeah. And also, Arbitrary Genius said she'd want a signed picture. Would you be happy to give one for her? Yeah, I'll sort something out. Good stuff. Well, thank you very much, and okay. we keep in touch with us. We'd love to hear what you're doing. We'd love to talk to you again at some point. Thank you. Yeah, no, great. Thank you very much. I really do appreciate it. They need to be reminded of the order of things. Clash of the Titans. And
Contenders ready.
Turn them on each other.
Player 1 versus Player 2. Fight.
We're doing Clash of Titans. I'm taking it this time. Taking the mantle off Scott. That clash of noise you just heard was by HOM Podcast, so thank you for sending that to us. We are going to have a comedy off.
Okay.
A clash of comedic proportions. And I thought I'd bring last generation, I'd say, maybe. The superstar comedian of the 90s, Jim Carrey, versus the superstar comedian of the noughties, Will Ferrell, I would say. Is that safe to say that's a good show?
Okay.
I'd certainly go along with that.
And you'd certainly think that there would be a bias one way or the other at this point, because we probably grew up more in Jim Carrey's era. But I've lost my...
It's not how Clash of the Titans works.
We know, I mean, Dan Aykroyd once beat Bill Murray in a controversial edition of Clash of the Titans.
Which I'll never hear the end of.
But before we go on, Clash of the Titans, what is it, Steve?
So Clash of the Titans is where we take two directors, actors, people, and pick out their, maybe not, sometimes not their best works, if you've heard it before, if you haven't, and we try and smash together the things that they've done that are very similar of a certain era or maybe a certain genre, and discuss who came out on top. We usually do 6-7 rounds, and at the end there's obviously a clear winner, or sometimes there's a draw, in which case...
Yeah, it's sort of a penalty shootout version of their film. It's usually a sort of casual link between the pairings of the films to keep it fair. And sometimes we do stretch to 7 if this tiebreakery wants.
Yeah.
But,
So, round 1, which let's say it's a galumphing idiot round. A large, like, flopping around, being slightly childish, and it's probably their roles that shot them to fame to a degree. I know The Mask came first, but with Jim Carrey, I'm going to go Ace Ventura.
Pet Detective.
Pet Detective. And for Will Ferrell, he is flopping his way in as Elf, the lovely, lovely chap. So we've got two kind of lovable men flopping around being stupid, and it was kind of what shot them. It's maybe their biggest characters. So, Ace Ventura versus Elf. Go.
Wow.
Buddy the Elf.
You might start off.
I know. So Ace Ventura.
I'll let you go,
am I
Steve.
alright to start? Ace
Please.
Ventura was one of the first films that sticks in my head as making me cry laughing, and so that will always hold dear to me. And I've not watched it in a while. But Elf is a film, again, hilariously brilliant, and I do go back to that year in, year out. It's one of my 5 Christmas films that I watch every single year, and I never get bored of it. Both highly quotable, both incredibly funny. I just think Ace Ventura is the kind of humour at the time was perfect. It's that slapstick from the opening moments where he's just kicking that box along the pavement as a delivery guy, and just the whole, just Jim Carrey being wacky and leaping around. I don't know, it just captured me at that time. But then I hold Elf a lot more dear because I watch it year in, year out, and I think Will Ferrell is just incredible in it. He plays the giant floppy man-child just brilliantly. So it's tough, but I'm going to go Elf because I do think Will Ferrell is a really, really strong character to play that at the beginning, and as there's the child who doesn't realise he's an elf and then he goes to the city, and he just plays that brilliantly. Whereas I think Jim Carrey tends to sort of play Jim Carrey. He sort of got almost typecast because of Ace Ventura, but I'll move on when you mention more films. But I think that was his defining role. But yeah, so yeah, Will Ferrell in Elf.
Scott.
I grew up with Ace Ventura, so I have a lot of time for it. I still laugh at the second one when he just goes, "Don't mind me, I'm just a curious rhino." I don't know why. I don't know why that line in particular. Oh, Midnight is Jim Carrey. He's so good, you almost want to forgive Batman Forever, but you can't. But you can never, for a second. And Will Ferrell, he can embody that sort of grown kid role brilliantly, and he doesn't do it better than in Elf. And Elf's got a kind of weird life of its own every Christmas, and I love Elf. It's a little charm factory of a film, but I do think people overrate it. Every year, on the year.
Okay.
It's a good Christmas film that I enjoy watching every year as well. It's just not the best Christmas film ever made.
Yeah.
It's not. Sorry.
But to be fair, the film didn't claim it. It's the people who've made it.
I know, but it's being overrated is starting to affect me. And I yes, it's Jim Carrey doing quote unquote what Jim Carrey does, but it's still very manic and takes a lot of energy. And this role made that perception of what Jim Carrey was, whereas, rightly or wrongly, I don't think it's that hard for Will Ferrell to play a grown child in Elf. So if I'm going on performance as well to help the sort of weird tiebreaker in my head, then I'm siding towards Jim Carrey, if I'm being honest.
Okay.
So, I decided the first round. Ace Ventura, yeah, I grew up with that. I loved it as a kid. That's brilliant. That's just hilarity. And you watch it now sometimes and go, this is hard work. But I still can watch it and enjoy it, don't get me wrong. Elf is just Christmas for me now. I know that might stick in your craw, but it has become something I love to watch.
But this is the thing, like, it's one of them where, do you know when you like rate a film really strongly, and then everyone starts to overrate it, so then you try and hold people back a bit, and then everyone thinks you hate it. It's one of them where it's like, I love Elf. I genuinely do. I just think you all get carried away. That's all it is. That's all my thing is. Elf's brilliant.
I think it appeals to me because, as a now fully grown man, I wish to appreciate Christmas as I did as a kid, and when you see Buddy the Elf appreciating Christmas as he does, it makes you go, oh, damn it, I wish I was a stupid
You didn't see
moron.
the sequel where he died of type 2 diabetes, though, did you?
No. But I'd watch that. So it is a horrible, hard round, but this is how Clash of the Titans work. It's hard right now. So, it's horrible.
Yeah.
My trick has backfired on me, and
You know my pain now.
Ace Ventura, though, is something. It's really hard because Ace Ventura was a big part of my childhood. He was an icon in my childhood.
Yep.
He's, along with Mr. Bean, that was the kind of comedy I loved. Elf, though, is just something I really look forward to at Christmas. I have to watch it every year, and I quote it, I love it, and I think I'm going to go Elf. That was difficult. Round one goes to Will Ferrell with Elf, and that is difficult. And now we're going to go daft duos. For Jim Carrey, it's Dumb and Dumber, where he sided with Jeff Daniels, played Lloyd Christmas. But Jeff Daniels, Dumb and Dumber, brilliant film.
Name's Christmas.
And actually, what I think is actually a really funny film, probably one of my favourite Will Ferrell films, Step Brothers with John C. Reilly, where they are just two stepbrothers, fully grown 40-year-old men who behave like children. There's a thing here. And then they are both idiots, and then hijinks happen, they become best friends, this, that, and the other. Idiot movies.
Dumb and Dumber is almost like the ultimate idiot movie, so in that regard you almost want to side for it, because it's so stupid that it's just weirdly charming, and that's why I didn't like them returning to it, because I was like, no, you got away with it that first time, don't tempt fate, and they did. So I have a lot of time for Dumb and Dumber. But Step Brothers it's almost like Naughty's equivalent, where we don't laugh at stupidity, we laugh at the sort of stunted growth of adulthood that a lot of us suffer from, which is sort of played out in Step Brothers. And they do that almost perfectly, and they have a weird lot of time for Step Brothers as well. So, it's tough. Because you try and, like, because Dumb and Dumber 2 has slightly soured things.
Yeah.
And you try and get rid of all
Yeah.
that, but it's still a weird feeling at the back.
Yeah. And the weird prequel they made that had nothing to do with it.
Yeah, and
Sold out of
and the
main.
fact that when you boil it down, it's not that amazing. It just got away with a lot, and it's just weirdly quotable.
What about Jim Carrey's role and Will Ferrell's role themselves in the film? Does that help or does that not?
Jim Carrey just played himself slightly more gormless than he usually does. But then Will Ferrell just plays the grown-up child in Best Thing.
Yeah.
It's kind of them doing what they do best,
exactly.
isn't it? So it doesn't even help me. I'm going to go Step Brothers, because I think if you made me watch it 3 times in a row this second, I think after the second viewing, Dumb and Dumber would get on my nerves.
Okay.
Does that make sense to anyone but me?
No, it makes sense. It's
Yeah.
a good way. I like
way of
the
processing
logical
it.
way of doing it. Yeah. Fair
So,
enough.
where do you lie?
Dumb and Dumber to me is more. I hold a film I grew up with than Ace Ventura. I've seen Dumb and Dumber countless times, and it never fails to make me laugh.
Pretty bird.
Pretty bird, pretty bird. But it is, so it's a great one. Step Brothers, I wasn't overly keen on the first time I watched it. I have now seen it a couple of times in different situations, and I do like it, and it is genuinely funny and silly. It just didn't blow my socks off. So I get the love for it, and I get why it's good. But I think because it didn't capture my imagination the first time, I've gone back and gone, all right, I can see that's funny, and I've found it funny, but it's not one that I sort of feel beholden to in any way, and I can see Will Ferrell does a great job, and I do think that Dumb and Dumber just sticks with me, and I was deeply disappointed when they did the prequel and the sequel, because it's kind of like Scott said, and it was perfect for its time, and it did something they got away with, and it's just snuck in as a little cult classic-y silly film, and it's like, to return to it feels like, really? No, leave it where it was and just watch the original, enjoy it for what it was. And that does taint it a bit, but I can't not go with Dumb and Dumber, so I'm going to have to choose Dumb and Dumber, I'm afraid.
Again, it goes to me.
I
Both
know,
rounds
I've
have gone
not
all the way.
on purpose.
I'm going to try and remove my childhood from this, because I sit quite firmly in the Jim Carrey base here. So looking at them, just if I watch these two films for the first time, Dumb and Dumber is just hilarious. There's so many good lines, and I think it's the Farrelly brothers' best film in my mind. I think they both play really good roles, and I think Jeff Daniels has to be credited for how great he holds up with Jim Carrey, who is such a strong character. For him as a general actor, not a comedian, to actually come in and actually hold his own next to Jim Carrey in this film is remarkable. But Jim Carrey is so strong in this. It's one of my favourite films. In fact, I think it's my favourite Jim Carrey film. But then you look at Step Brothers, and it's hilarious. It's got the funny liners and one-liners. Again, it's a remarkably similar film about two people who are so similar, and there's fallouts, and then they get on, and they fall out, and they get on, and things. There's wiping balls on a drum kit. I mean, it's great. They to pretend he's dead when he's so many great moments. And this is probably, actually, when you bring it up in this situation, it's a great back-to-back film watching, probably.
Yeah,
weirdly.
Daft duos, you know, it's great. But I think, despite all of that, Dumb and Dumber is one of my favourite comedies ever. It often is on the cusp of my top 10. So when I said I'm removing that from it, I think that is simply what has to decide it, because I think they're both pretty great films, and they're both great performances from them, from both the actors I brought today. So I'm going to go Dumb and Dumber, I'm afraid, and that evens it up to 1-1.
Yeah.
So let's move on now to a round I'm going to call Naughty Newsreaders. First of all, with Jim Carrey, it's Bruce Almighty, who plays a newsreader, a news presenter, who then gets the power of God. hangs around with Jennifer Aniston, does things, you know, it's great. And then Will Ferrell plays Anchorman, probably one of his most iconic roles. Ron Burgundy, San Diego in the 70s, the newsreader. Probably his most iconic performance. There you go, Bruce Almighty versus Anchorman.
They've been really tough, the first two, and well paired. This is well paired, but it's certainly not tough.
Mm-hmm.
It's Will Ferrell's best role. It's his iconic. It's just such a cult movie, Anchorman, and it's so insanely quotable, and catches a weird magic. And it's Will Ferrell at his absolute best. Bruce Almighty was a all right return for Jim Carrey at the turn of the millennium. That's all it is. It's really nothing to write home about, and it's definitely not worth sequelising. If anyone called it ever.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
Oh gosh.
it was just fine. Fine at best, actually, probably. It's Anchorman every single day of the week.
Not to drag it out, I thoroughly agree with that. Bruce Almighty was fine. It was nice to see Jim Carrey being Jim Carrey again, slightly more toned down, but it didn't do anything special. But Anchorman, as Scott said, is just Will Ferrell being brilliant. He toned down the inner man child that from the previous films we've spoken about, and Will Ferrell for me as well.
Claire Wynn putting Will Ferrell into a 2-1 lead. Now we're going to play it straight. And this means Jim Carrey brings Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, a non-comedy film, and then for Will Ferrell, it's Stranger Than Fiction.
My goodness!
I love both these films.
Yes.
But Jim Carrey, you could have gone like Man of the Moon,
Yeah.
Truman Show to a degree.
Yeah.
So that shows you a sort of robust nature.
Majestic Theatre as well. Great.
Yeah.
Great.
So in terms of his serious work, Jim Carrey's catalogue is a bit more robust than Will Ferrell's, because other than Stranger in Fiction, I struggle to think of a serious Will Ferrell film. And I really liked that film. It was quirky, it was interesting, it was cool. I think it was a good move for him to do something a bit different. Love that film to bits, but Eternal Sunshine has a similar sort of cerebral element to it, whilst being insanely cult and with cool bit of sci-fi in there, and it speaks about relationships in a nicer way. So just because it's, if it weren't this, it could have been two others. It's going to have to be Jim Carrey, reluctantly.
Stranger Than Fiction is one of those films that's just Emma Thompson. I've not been a big fan of the great British sort of flouncy movies that she sort of was in the 90s. Really struck a chord in this with me, and she stood out more in my head when I think about the film. And I really enjoy it. I mean, the soundtrack's brilliant, and the sweet moment where he's singing. Jim Carrey in Eternal Sunshine. It is him and Kate Winslet. It's visually beautiful. It's lovely. It has elements of all different types of films, and the story, I love it. So it's going to be Jim Carrey for me as well.
And a clear win now for Jim Carrey in Eternal Sunshine, which puts this on level peggings with 1 round to go, or is it 3 rounds to go? Because like a few weeks ago, we could have gone to 7. Would you rather keep it tight and have it to 5, or would you like to go the extra 2 yards?
You're the Mr. Timekeep. What do you say?
Well, we'll see. We'll go the full 9 yards, or the full 7 yards in this case.
Okay.
We'll do it because I think it's got an interesting conclusion. So, would you like to go? Oh, I know where I'm going to go next. I know. Villains. Jim Carrey played the Riddler in Batman Forever. And Will Ferrell played Mugatu in Zoolander.
Riddle me this. Riddle me that. Who's afraid of the big black mark? Well, I have made no secret of my hatred for Joel Schumacher Batman films, and Batman Forever frustrates me more than Batman and Robin. Because Batman and Robin is an unmitigated disaster that is weirdly funny after the fact, seeing as we got Batman back, so it doesn't matter. Whereas Batman Forever is frustrating because there's a good Batman film hidden somewhere underneath the neon and the camp that you just can't get to every time you put the film on. But Jim Carrey is just exercising a function as directed by its director, and he's playing sort of a Frank Gorshin inspired version of himself in the Riddler, which works for that sort of tone. So, and he comes out of that film far better than Tommy Lee Jones, who's a very accomplished actor, who just plays some weird half-faced Joker to call Tommy Lee Jones face. When he could have played that really cool. And Zoolander, I half watched it once and didn't like it.
Okay.
Right.
So I'm actually sticking up for Joel Schumacher's Batman and saying that's ahead of Zoolander for me.
Oh, gosh, this one is going to be, because, yeah. I take that about Jim Carrey, and it was just Jim Carrey painted green and running around being Jim Carrey. And
which he was in The Mask.
That's fine, yeah, exactly, yeah.
Well,
which was fine.
In fairness, it was very tinged with Frank Gorshin, how he used to play it in the 60s, which I do think was a conscious decision.
Yeah, and I get that, but I think Zoolander is up there in my favourite sort of comedy films, and I do the sequel, as we spoke about last week, I think it intrigues me, but yeah, I do think Mugatu is just a brilliant, overly camp Will Ferrell just playing somebody completely ridiculous, and
so was Jim Carrey.
He's more memorable. He's more memorable to me because I've only seen that Batman film years ago, and it didn't stick with me. It was, oh look, Jim Carrey. It was Two-Face. Whereas Zoolander's a film I'll happily watch, and Will Ferrell's performance in that is stand out again, up with Ben Stiller and Owen Wilson, and you've got a really strong cast in there, but they each have their moments, and he plays that villain role really, really well, and he's kind of a key point in the whole film, whereas the Riddler is just sort of, I don't know, didn't stand out as much.
What is it about Zoolander then? Because it was many years ago, but I really just couldn't be bothered with it, and it were doing nothing for me, and I've just never wanted to go near it again. Do you ever have just a weirdly off-putting day with your film?
You've got to be in the right mood. I just think it's just a really clever parody of the fashion industry and the
well, I got that's what it was trying to do, yeah.
I just think it did it really well. I don't know. But I'm going to go for Will Ferrell in Zoolander on that round. If you want to draw on, we've turned it back to Andrew again, and I feel like, shit.
It is a theme, but this you do it to me when it's me. It's just the way it works sometimes.
This is a difficult round for me because I think I'm in a similar space to Scott with Batman Forever. I don't like it very much at all, but Tommy Lee Jones is definitely the more offensive of the two.
More offensive.
Jim Carrey's annoying. He's too over the top, and I don't think his jokes come over.
Twinkle tweet. That bit sends shivers down my spine.
But Mugatu does nothing for me. Actually, it's not something I go to in Zoolander and find entertaining as much as other bits. Mila Jovovich's character's better. I like Owen Wilson and Ben Stiller's relationship in there, and forgive me, I've forgotten her name, but Ben Stiller's wife.
Oh, is it Catherine? What's she called?
But she plays an interesting. I find all that bit more interesting.
Dodgeball, isn't she?
Yeah.
What's she called? Doesn't matter.
I can't remember.
Yeah.
But it's Mugatu doesn't make me. Oh, wasn't Mugatu amazing?
Yeah.
Doesn't do that for me. So it's very tough. The stain of Batman Forever is sinking out the room.
As we said, it's the film, it's the performance, and then it's your taste. And I didn't like Zoolander enough to go, well, that film's definitely better, although it probably would edge it. But I think his performance as the Riddler is weirdly one of the better things about that film, just because he was playing it how Joel Schumacher wanted, and it fit for the Riddler better than Tommy Lee Jones' face did for that. In that there was at least precedent in sort of very slightly flamboyant Riddler that was very Jim Carrey-esque from the 60s. So it worked out quite well.
Okay.
If you know what I mean.
So I've got that from Scott. You fight Mugatu's corner for me now, just very briefly. Tell me why I should vote Mugatu.
I just think Mugatu plays the evil supervillain, the supervillain role. Mila Jovovich is great, but I do think him controlling the whole, being in the background, controlling all the whole fashion industry, and being that ridiculously over the top character that's trying to. What in crazy way to take over the world through fashion, and I don't know. I just think Will Ferrell
Crazier than a mind-reading television.
Well, yeah, it's just having a fashion show.
Everything you say applies to the Riddler. That's
having
all I'm
a fashion
saying.
show that's based on trash in the street.
Is he overly flamboyant? Keeps changing his costume?
Yeah.
Weird plan to take over the world? Yep, the Riddler.
It's again, I've stumped myself with my own round. Two very similar characters, but I think at the end of the day, it is coming down to the film. Unfortunately, I can't call much there. I think Mugatu's doesn't stand out. Riddler does not much for me.
By the way, Ben Stiller's wife's Christine Taylor.
Okay. So, as we go into 7, the pressure's off me a little bit. So I think I will go for I don't know.
It's tough. It's very tough.
Because I have more of an opinion on Riddler. And Mugatu did nothing for me.
Yeah, okay.
But do you have an opinion based on what you'd prefer the character to be rather than how he played it?
But it's weird because Riddler's one I've never really. Well, I've never been that bothered as a Batman villain. He's pretty low down the list of my favourites. So I don't really have an opinion I'd like him. I like him when he's a snivelling person getting punched in the face. He's one like the Penguin that came into the new era of Batman as you're the old school, you're the old form, and you do not stand up to me anymore. He's more the Penguin goes around in the background and he's the businessman, but every time he confronts Batman, he's like, oh shit. The same with the Riddler. He's kind of he's an enigma. He helps the police. But he's also got a finger in the villain's pie as well. He's very interesting in the comics, and I don't get that love for him.
I'm going to lend you Scott Snyder's Zero Year.
I know he's done naughty things, but
It's going to be awesome for you.
But I don't really have much of a care for the character, so this is where I'm stuck on. But I'm going to have to make a decision. The Riddler wins it.
Yay.
And it basically came through to shouting. The next round is...
What's the scores, George Dawes?
Scores on the doors, it's 3-2 to Jim Carrey. He would have won it if we'd done 5 rounds, but we're going to see if Willie can have a second chance, or will Jim Carrey win it outright with 2 more rounds. I'm going to go with animation. And the animation I'm going to go, to keep this even, in terms of the films.
Yeah.
So I could go with Lego Movie, but I think I know what
Oh, yeah.
But Horton Hears a Who.
Who?
With Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
And Megamind with Will Ferrell.
It was the lesser watched Despicable Me. They always seems to, every other year you just get a pair of films that just weirdly come out at the same year with the same idea, and one always does really well and one kind of fades to obscurity, and the one that fades to obscurity is often not even bad.
Yeah, it just got overlooked.
Like, this is the worst example in the world for it. But Paul Blart Mall Cop.
Yes.
And Observer
Report,
which was
Seth
good.
Rogen, which was really
That
good.
was the good one.
Yes, it was. It was the better of the two. But
Paul
got
Blart
buried
Mall
'cause
Cop's
Paul
got
Blart.
a sequel.
Yeah.
I've seen a poster for
Yep,
it.
it's happening.
A sequel.
Yeah.
Paul Blart Mall Cop 2.
Inventive. So I get that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I watched Megamind and I liked it.
Okay.
I can't remember if I liked it better or worse than Despicable Me. I just remember watching it at the same time and thinking I liked both.
Okay. I'm just going to chip in for Karen. It's the only one I've seen, and I wasn't keen on it.
Do you know?
No. So this is a tough one for me. So I'll let you. Sorry,
but it's also tough because I remember literally nothing about it, apart from like my base impression at 3 o'clock in the morning about 4 years ago.
Yeah.
So, which is not a lot to go on, is it?
No.
But I'm saying the same for Haunted Hears the Who as well. I think I vaguely enjoyed it a few years ago.
Yeah.
Maybe once.
Yeah.
But
I have not seen it.
I'm not that big into Dr. Zeus stuff. Really.
I'm a Dr. Seuss fan. It's not something not something that interested me because
Never watched
the
the
live
Lorax.
action ones. The Lorax is
Never watched the Lorax.
atrocious.
Didn't like Cat in the Hat.
No.
The Grinch is debatable.
Oh, I like the Grinch. If you're going to give me one, the Grinch out of all of those.
Yeah, same.
But yeah.
But they're all just weird nosed,
Yeah.
weird storied, over gimmicky, weird.
Oh no, I love Dr.
Fliggly,
Seuss.
flaggly whoops.
Harry Potter.
Yeah, it's I'm going to go Megamind because it's more in my wheelhouse personally.
I don't know how to call this one because I've only seen Megamind. I wasn't keen. It wasn't memorable. It didn't stick in my mind, and I haven't seen the other one. But I'm a big Dr. Seuss fan, so I don't know how to call it. I can't call a film I've not seen. So I'm gonna have to throw it to you because I can't. I don't know. Can I vote? I can't really vote on something I didn't enjoy and something I've not seen. It's tough.
You've got to vote on something.
That's how the game works.
I'll have to go Megamind then because I've not seen the other one and I can't. There's no argument for or against because I've seen a trailer many years ago.
This is where the division lies, though, because the last round is best of the rest.
Okay.
And it's here that you realise that Jim Carrey has things such as Man on the Moon,
Mm-hmm.
Didn't help Bill Murray.
Truman Show,
Didn't help Bill Murray.
The Cable Guy.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas all I can think of for...
Not The Mask.
Oh, of course, The Mask as well.
I love The Mask.
You see, I'm not that bothered about it.
The Mask would have won every single one of those rounds.
I overwatched it, so I haven't seen it for years.
So, but the ones for Will Ferrell, Everything Must Go was a good drama by him.
Blaze of Glory.
Blades of Glory, which I really
It's one
enjoyed.
of the better ones.
So,
there's Casa Mi Padre, the Spanish one.
Yeah, I
as well.
enjoyed that. I enjoyed that.
Yeah. It's weird seeing it mainly being. It's obviously Spanish, but it's him in Spanish. Being funny.
so I'm going to pitch these Blades of Glory for Willie Ferrell.
Mm-hmm.
And in Jim Carrey's corner, it is The Cable Guy.
Okay.
And it's not the best of the rest, it's the best round of the rest.
If you wanted this to be quick, you could have just said The Mask and it would have been irrelevant.
I'll keep this short and sweet. Blades of Glory I've seen twice. It didn't strike a chord with me. I seem to pick that up from somewhere, that phrase. But anyway, it didn't really strike a chord with me. I liked John Heder in Napoleon Dynamite. I loved Napoleon Dynamite. I loved Will Ferrell. I don't know. Something about that film didn't work for me. There were a couple of amusing moments, but no. Whereas Cable Guy, Jim Carrey just turned into this. We've said about him being wacky and running around and doing his thing, and he can do serious. But in this, it's the darkest fucking. It's not a Jim Carrey film, and he plays that character really well. He plays creepy and dark and stalkerish and weird. He still has that element of, oh look, I'm a bit wacky Jim Carrey, but God, he's a terrifying man.
He is terrifying.
And it's a really strong performance from him. So that will be that's my.
So Steve is voting Cable Guy, which
You
way?
know what? That was very eloquently put and very similar to my thoughts. I actually like Blaze of Glory. It's one of the better Ferrells, but it's one of the better ones of his sort of post old school Anchorman run where he could do nothing wrong and he just did a few average films like Semi-Pro
and Talladega Nights,
Talladega
Ballad of
Nights
Ricky
and
Bobby.
stuff.
Yeah.
And it was just one of the better ones of them. Whereas Cable Guy is one of the darkest ones Jim Carrey's done, even his serious ones, in a weird way. And then he also, this could have been Man on the Moon, The Mask, Truman Show. I feel like we're still missing something huge. All of which would have won, regardless of what Because the only good film I can think of off the top of my head that he's not touched on for Will Ferrell's Old School. Which I love, Old
shout.
School.
Yeah. Good shout.
But Jim Carrey, you casually just left loads out. But it's not reflective of the game, is it?
No.
It's playing the people, not the round.
Playing the people in the match.
But I think even playing the round, Cable Guy wins this. It's more darkly comic, it's more interesting, it's more cultish. Ben Stiller directed it, didn't he?
But whereas Jim Carrey is at the sort of end of his career, he's doing things like well, not the end of a career, but
He's weird now.
He's gone. He's had his prime. He's got a great backlog. There's still a lot more to come from Mr. Will Ferrell, I believe.
I love Will Ferrell. There's a charm to him. I can understand if people don't, because he was a bit everywhere for a while, but he's very good at what he does.
Yeah.
Wasn't as easy a victory as he might have thought going in.
It's the way the cards are played with this game. That's why I like the game.
Yeah.
You never know. You never know when people haven't seen Space Jam.
We've reached that point, the end of the show.
No.
We'd like to, first of all, say a big thank you very much for Paul Warren for joining us. And even bigger thank you to Bex at Arbitrary Genius for setting up the interview. We love our listeners, and if you want to throw anything in our direction, please do. Now, this is the point where last week we were talking, we were going to... another for Arbitrary Genius, actually for Bex. We were going to do a bake-off.
Yes.
And me and Scott slaved over a hot stove.
You did.
You don't cook cupcakes on the stove, but we might have the way we don't. No, but we made these. You'll see them on our Twitter. Beautiful Batman.
Oh, they were.
And the Batman one had this marshmallow in the middle, all melted, and had grey cake like the Batman suit. We put a lot of thought into this.
They were good.
And then the Hulk one was a nice chocolate cake, and then with peanut butter, because strong men eat peanut butter. Green icing and little hugs, and we're going to record a bit where Steve ate them.
They were so good.
You lie.
They were so good in the pictures.
You were sipping from the cup of beer. Didn't know where I was going to go.
Beer. I was.
You got too distracted with beer, and it never happened.
Too distracted by the pub.
But we had them. They were nice.
They did look good.
So who won?
Oh,
Oh, you see,
put me on the spot.
Copping out.
I've killed a lot of brain cells since then.
We had a little bake-off.
Incredible.
We made Hulk buns, and we made Batman buns, and they were nice. And you'll never taste them because we ate them all.
You did.
If you do any baking creations in the run-up to the Age of Ultron or anything, any Marvel, any DC, anything...
Yeah, anything geeky.
Geeky, baked products. Send them in. Steve, what time is it?
Hey, it's time for this week, the Geeks...
Just a minute.
Whoa.
In your box.
What?
In your box, Scott. How many times he's got all funny about this whole not being able to meet people thing that we've had to lock him in his box this week for the outro.
We've had to. Stay.
Don't look at me like that. Stay where you are. Give him his fish heads after we finish.
Will.
Right, Steve, what time is it?
It's time for this week, the Geeks have spoken. Thanks, Scott. We'll start, as always, by saying thank you kindly for all your tweets, interactions, 3-word reviews. Keep them coming in. We love it. It's great. You set us up interviews. You send us pictures of things you're making and doing. It's brilliant. Pete is on a quest to watch 365 films in the year after falling short without even trying 352 last year. I've done the maths and I've rejigged it in account of festivals, and so far he has watched, on day 80, which was the 21st of March, he'd watched 104 films. That's an average of 1.3 films per day, 281 days into the year, so October the 8th is now his predicted finishing date, creeping ever closer to my August prediction.
I was near mine, I think.
Yeah, it's close. So
we'll see.
We'll see.
But
Thank
keep
you,
at this
Pete.
pace, and then I'll be winning.
Definitely.
I don't know what I win.
We'll think of something. Leprechaun, Aniston's original nose, 8 out of 10. Yeah,
I forgot she was in the first.
She
the
is.
original. Yeah.
and she's actually pretty good. It's an alright watch. I'd probably go 7.
Wow.
Have you seen
really?
it?
No.
False, crazy, trippy, fantastic. 8 out of 10. That's not one I've heard of, unfortunately. I should look these up, by the way. My Own Man examines real masculinity. 7 out of 10. And one called The Scribbler, which I have seen on streaming services. Trippy, Gillam-esque. 7 out of 10. So yeah, thank you for those.
Thank you, Pete.
And Freya at Run Roller Run saw Unfinished Business and said pretty fucking shithouse. 3.5 out of 10.
Over 3 reviews getting very swear.
Yeah. Fucking with a fucking.
Fucking, that's because it's Australian.
Yeah, pretty fucking shithouse. So yeah, thank you for that. At Artie Fufkin, James Walmsley, just thanks for the amazing Bob Hoskins picture for our Mario screening on the 7th of April at the Green Room in Sheffield. If anyone's around and coming, it's on our Instagram and our Twitter.
Yeah, we'll be launching the event. It
picture.
should be with you by now if you check the website and the Twitters and everything. 7:30 start. Film will probably start about 8 o'clock.
Yep.
Come and drink some beer, eat some popcorn, enjoy the brilliance that is Super Mario Brothers.
Yes. And at Andy Wedekind, sorry if I pronounced it wrong, Bob Hoskins, moi, love him, in response to the picture. So it's all good. Oddly enough, you were talking about cakes at the start, and I've written in the shout-outs this time because we get a lot from Bex and Amateur Genius and sharing things on the Facebook, and you guys have cooked. So this is a new section entitled "This Week the Geeks Have Baked."
This week, the Geeks have baked. I like it.
I thought we'd add. So Bex at Arbitrary Genius, in response to Scott and Andrew baking, exciting. I made the last of my cap cookies and then some chocolate brownies, not comic themed. Yay! I think I'm supposed to tackle Ant-Man next, but it's tricky. We do have a plan. I'm picturing tiny cakes. Don't know how that's going to work, but
Yeah.
what would you make for Ant-Man?
Well, he's got quite a. His mask is quite cool. I could think of a nice decal for a cookie or something on top, like a shortbread biscuit with like an Empire biscuit with an Ant-Man head.
Nice.
Or you could make, like, if you want to be really odd, make ant profiteroles. So 2 profiteroles and link them with a mini eclair, and then put legs in them, which would
have
be
like red rope licorice as the legs, or that would be good. Yeah.
But this is the thing: you always have these brilliant ideas in your head, but the actual creation is just a pile of slop.
It's true. I was thinking more along the lines of decorating miniature Rice Krispies under a magnifying glass, but that's just the way my brain works.
Yeah, and disappointing on all levels if you don't have a magnifying glass when it comes around to eating.
Just trying to paint a little face on a Rice Krispie. It does look like Ant-Man, it does!
Do you have to make the Rice Krispies as well?
Oh, no.
No. So there's no baking involved. It's just opening a bag of cereal.
You could put them on a cupcake or a cookie or
a...
that's how my brain works.
I'm not convinced.
No, I'm not. Simon Williams at Els87 in response to your Hulk cake said, liquefied Hulk.
He did look melty. In fact, I think Scott pointed out that they looked more like creepers from Minecraft as opposed to Hulks. They were rather melted. It did look like zombies trying to crawl out of their own melted flesh.
Definitely. Bex said he smashed. My second option for Hulk was to make a Kiwi-based Eton mess and call it Hulk Smash.
I've never been a big Kiwi fan.
No, I don't
I'm
mind
sure
it
it visually had approved, but I don't think my mouth would.
Yeah, I like the idea of an Eton mess.
Because it's a mess and you could probably do it.
Yeah, exactly. Throw it all in a bowl, it happens. It's fine. Wax Skeleton at Jeffers. Is that his cousin Hulk Sanchez?
He did look like he had a Mexican moustache,
Yeah.
I'll admit, yeah.
And Joe Pollard at JC_Pollard. Smash Ing.
Thank you.
So love for the cakes there. So that's the new section. Keep in your baking.
Keep throwing your baking. If you've never tried baking and fancy it, me and Scott managed it. Just about.
Yeah. James Brad Maroney at JBM368 with The Age, the comics. Thanks again for the interview. You can check it out on Comixology, Tumblr and Facebook.
And really do, because really interesting take on society and superheroes and things, as well as quite a fun Teen Titan kind of feel about it as well. Give it a read. I think it's only like $1.99, $3.99 or something.
It's definitely worth checking out.
Try indie comics. You'll find a load of stuff if you look at the indie market, as opposed, I know we've all got our DCs and our Marvels and our comics like that, and that's great, but there is a huge market out there. Now, I know there are poor examples, but it's the same everywhere, really. Do dip your finger in. I mean, Steve's going to be reviewing Reckless Heroes, The Last Sheriff for us. We're all going to be reading that over the next few weeks, and also we will be reviewing some more. So this week has been Weekly Geek Speak. Thank you very much to Paul Warren for joining us. It's so cool to have someone like that on the show. Someone who's been on Guardians of the Galaxy, has been Thor the Dark World.
Amazing.
Clash of the Titans, if you want to weigh in on any of those, on our decisions, if you think we got something wrong.
It was a tough one. You'll have heard it was a tough one.
And definitely with the Superman debate we were having earlier in the show, the Man of Steel, where do you stand? We really want to know if you sincerely don't like that movie, we want to know why.
Yeah.
We know that lots of people don't like it, so we don't need it's rubbish.
Yeah.
We want to know what in particular, because it's just, I still can't quite fathom why it's so hated. And I need to watch it again.
I need to watch it again, I think, with fresh eyes. Now all the hype's died down, and it's division of people.
So let us know your feelings at Weekly Geek Speak, or if you've got a longer reply, weeklygeekspeak@gmail.com, and we'll be happy to hear your thoughts. Next week we'll have a brand new recommend decommend, and I know that some of us around the table or in the box have seen Chappie and The Voices, so will they appear? Hear our thoughts on both those films next week. Until then,
thank you kindly.
Goodbye. Farewell.
Adios.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Adieu.
Ciao.
Fair.